Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna be doing something that I haven't really done something like this before, I guess, and that is ranking my top 10 rock albums, basically. So there's a few things I want to say before this. First things first, if you guys enjoy this and want to see me do this for other things like, you know, metalcore, melodic death metal, or anything, which I may still do at some point anyway, feel free to let me know in the comments or anything like that. And secondly, most of these are rock albums, but a couple of them would probably be considered more towards like the alternative metal side. There's a couple of these that I would probably say are lean a little bit more towards that than rock, but still albums that I think fit together with rock albums and stuff like that, and things that people who enjoy rock music will still enjoy, I guess. So just keep that in mind as well. There's only, I think, 2 of those on this list. So first, I have actually 4 honorable mentions. These are all albums that I do think are good, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're like my favorites, but I still wanted to at least mention them, I guess. And those are the self-titled album by We As Human, The End Is Where We Begin by Thousand Fort Crutch, Unleashed by Skillet, and Cursed by Righteous Vendetta. So that's out of the way, let's actually do the top 10. So at number 10, I have Phobia by Breaking Benjamin. This is a really fantastic album. It's not my favorite by them. I know that the kind of common opinion is that this is their best album, and while I can kind of see that, I can see why people would think this is their best. Personally, it's not my favorite, but it is still a really fantastic album. My very first Breaking Benjamin song was from this album, which was Evil Angel, and that still to this day is one of my favorites. There's a lot of good songs on here, like The Diary of Jane, which is probably their most popular song to date. Dance with the Devil is really good. I also really like Unknown Soldier. Until the End is pretty good as well, and I also like You Fight Me. Yeah, there's a lot of good songs on this album, and overall it's just a really solid album. Next up, I've got Until We Have Faces by Red. This was actually my first rock album, I guess, and it's the album that got me into rock and everything like that, so it holds a special place in my heart. I probably wouldn't be where I am now, at least with my music taste and stuff like that. It wouldn't probably be this way if it wasn't for this album and this band. I did try to kind of take that nostalgia away for this. I considered putting their album Gone in this place, since I personally think Until We Have Faces and Gone are pretty much equal, but I will say I probably very slightly prefer Until We Have Faces, mainly because I haven't gone back to Gone a whole lot since it came out last year. Until We Have Faces is a fantastic album. It has some of Red's best songs on it, I think, like Feed the Machine and Let It Burn, Not Alone, Buried Beneath, just to name a few. Those are all fantastic songs, and beginning to end, this is a great album. Next up, I've got The Devil by Blue Stahli. Now, this is an artist that I got into, I think, just earlier this year, actually. Kind of an electronic rock kind of artist. And he's really cool. He does everything all by himself, which is pretty neat. And he does music for like trailers and stuff like that too, like instrumental music for trailers and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of electronic or rock or electronic rock. And he has released 2 solo albums, this being one of them, and his first album being self-titled, which is pretty good as well, but I will say I slightly prefer The Devil. It's a really great album, a lot of really great songs on it. It's just generally a solid electronic rock album. If you're into bands like Starset or any other really electronic rock musicians or bands, I guess, then you'll probably enjoy this album. Next, I've got Dear Agony by Breaking Benjamin. For a long time, this was my favorite Breaking Benjamin album. It's not anymore, that comes a little later on in the list, but this is still a fantastic album. I would say I prefer it over Phobia, which seems like it's a relatively unpopular opinion. For me, I just really enjoy Dear Agony. I enjoy it a little bit more than Phobia, even though I think they generally are about equal, but I just personally enjoy Dear Agony more for whatever reason. Several great songs on here too, some of Breaking Benjamin's best in my opinion, like the title track Hopeless, Crawl. Anthem of the Angels also is a very underappreciated song. And yeah, it's a really fantastic rock album. Next up, I've got Vessels by Starset. This is an album that has kind of grown off me as time has gone on, but I do still really, really enjoy a lot of the stuff on here. It has easily some of Starset's best songs. I would say if I were to do a top 5 of their favorite song, or my favorite songs by this band, at least 4 of them would be from this album, if not all 5. Really fantastic album. There are a few songs on it that are not as good in my opinion, like Into the Unknown, Bringing It Down, Telepathic, but there are some really, really fantastic ones on here too, like Ricochet, Die For You, Satellite, Unbecoming, and stuff like that are all just really great songs. Next up, this is one of the ones that I would consider more on the metal side of things, but it still fits in this list, I guess. And that is the self-titled album by Woven War. Now, Woven War is the band that was formed when As I Lay Dying split up back in 2013. All of the other members, aside from the frontman Tim Lambesis, recruited Shane Blay from Oh Sleeper to come in and do vocals. This is a really fantastic album. It definitely shows that even after the breakup of As I Lay Dying, they were still able to make really great music. Their second album, Honor Is Dead, was okay, but not nearly as good as this one. I'm a little concerned about this band now, seeing as how As I Lay Dying got back together, but I'd like to see at least one more album from this band, but that may not happen. But again, really fantastic album beginning to end. Some really fantastic songs like All Rise, Death to Rights, Tempest, The Mason. I really enjoyed Prophets as well, which is the last song on the album aside from the outro. And yeah, it's just a really, really great album. Next, this is the second album on here that I would say leans a little more towards the metal side of things, and that is Between Here and Lost by Love and Death. Now, this is actually an album that I haven't gone back to a whole lot in the last couple of years. Maybe it's because it's the band's only album and it came out in 2013, and they're still working on their second one off and on, which is annoying. But it is still a really fantastic album. One or two of my favorite songs of all time, actually, would probably be on this album, like The Abandoning. Well, probably only that one I would consider one of my all-time favorites, but all the rest of the album is fantastic as well. It's really great if you're into bands maybe like Red, for example, but are looking for something a little bit heavier. Number 3 is Ember by Breaking Benjamin, which is the newest album on this list. It came out earlier this year. One of my favorite albums of the year for sure. Easily my favorite Breaking Benjamin album. It's just a really great album beginning to end. No bad songs. All of the songs are at least like really good, I would say. Yeah, it's just really great. I've not gone back to it a whole lot in the last several months, maybe like since midsummer-ish, I would say. But I did go back to it and listen to it a week or two ago, and it still holds up very well for me. So yeah, definitely a fantastic album. Next up, I have Innocence and Instinct by Red. This is a really fantastic album. It was hard for me to choose between number 1 and number 2 because I like them about equally, but I just went with this. Innocence and Instinct is a fantastic album. Several of Red's best songs on here, like Fight Inside, Death of Me, Mystery of You, Out From Under, Forever. A lot of great songs on this album, and definitely, for sure, one of their best. And finally, my favorite one, some of you probably saw this coming, but that is Of Beauty and Rage by Red. I wasn't sure whether to have this as number 2 or number 1, because, like I said, I like this and Innocence and Instinct pretty much equally. I just think Beauty and Rage is better as a full package, whereas Innocence and Instinct is better with just the individual songs. But A Beauty and Rage is a fantastic album, one of my favorite albums of all time, one of the albums that I would, this and Innocence and Instinct, I guess, one of the albums I would consider to be perfect or as close to it as you can get. Yeah, it's just fantastic, and again, some of their best songs like Darkest Part, Shadow and Soul, Gravity Lies, which is probably in my top 5 Red songs, I would say. That's a fantastic song. It's full of really great stuff, and it's just overall a fantastic album. Now that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with any of my picks or you disagree, if you're interested in seeing me do something like this for other like subgenres of metal mainly, then let me know in the comments what you'd be interested in. I'll probably do that anyway. Let me know what you guys are interested in seeing for something in this format, I guess. And that pretty much wraps up the video, so I will see you guys next time.